Hi.
Welcome to Meet Meow Wolf. Did you know that's the name of the show?
No, I am so excited to be here, though. This is a surprise. This is a special edition because it's a surprise for the guest because she did not inform herself. Because I didn't know it was about me. I thought we were going to play video games.
She came here expecting some other kind of games, but the game is going to be I just like rapid fire ask you questions, and it's going to be really fun anyway. So this is Morgan Capps. You are a filmmaker at Meow Wolf. My name is Han Sales. For the purpose of this interview, I am your interviewer. That is my role. And I would love for you to tell this audience what you do at Meow Wolf.
So I'm normally not the one being interviewed because I directed the Meow Wolf origin story documentary with Joanne Spitzmiller. And so now I just am working in the nonfiction realm at Meow Wolf, doing some more documentation and sort of exploring other things, but I've been absorbed into the fold.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are familiar with the documentary, and you are the face behind it. You stepped in and took the project over, right? Like, when did you start working on that?
So, yeah, that's cool. I hope it's also a face of Joanne and Alessandra, our editor. But I started out with Meow Wolf. It will be almost 4 years this summer,
wow.
which is so crazy to me. I moved to Santa Fe to...
Which means you're a senior.
Oh my, somebody did say that to me recently, like
true.
every 4 years you're like in a new college of life. And I'm like, oh God, now I'm having that, graduation anxiety, flashbacks. But I was out here, I was supposed to be in Santa Fe for 5 months working on, just a gig working on a documentary. This woman said, do you want to come live in my casita? And I was like, sure, but I didn't know anyone, and so kind of heard around town that, these people were building this psychedelic Disneyland, and then I met Tristan Love, who I now work with, and then I just started volunteering to make friends when they were building the House of Eternal Return, and then started shooting behind the scenes of what was going on, not really knowing, I was just a volunteer the whole time, not knowing what was coming from it and just kind of being around and helping out. And I decided to continue to stay in Santa Fe because I wanted to stay and see the house open. I was curious what would happen. And then the house opened and it was this insane thing. And then the idea of doing a documentary came up, and I was just there being like, put me in, coach. And then, so that's my background is in
training on the sidelines.
Yeah.
This was like your Rocky moment,
Yeah, I was like, I'm ready. And then with Alexandra Renzo, who's our producer, brought Joanne and Alessandra onto the team. And then it was this beautiful collaboration of like diving into this really intense sort of idea of a thing, and 10 years of a story. And so what was the question?
I don't remember. Does anyone?
I was just like, I'll do my backstory.
Exactly. It was how did you come to Meow Wolf?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was also related to the documentary because it sounds like you had a really natural transition into it. You just started filming all of this footage, so you were already kind of the documentarian.
Yeah, and Lindsay Kennedy as well was shooting behind the scenes. There's a very small group of us, and because the experience of building this thing that nobody really knew how it was going to turn out or if it was going to work, there was a lot of tension, and so filming wasn't like this easy thing where it was like everyone's like, hey, come shoot this. It was like, can I film you? Like what's going on? And then ended up being like, an important part of telling this even longer story. But yeah, it was like I hoped things would work out that way, where I would maybe get to work on a documentary about Meow Wolf, and then the beast rained its blessings upon me.
Did people have strong reactions when you asked them to film during the build?
No, for the most, yes and no. At one point, I think we were told to stop filming.
Because everyone was really stressed out.
Yes.
And they were like, this isn't even going to happen. Why are you filming?
And so it was like, and Lindsay, luckily she was also doing photography. She kept filming too.
Okay,
and I sort of started to help with some of the narrative stuff. But yeah, I guess people were a little bit tense, but then it was, you know, that's a really different situation now, though it's still difficult to document people in a totally different way because this thing's so big. But being somewhere with a camera and like asking someone to be themselves, that's a really difficult thing to do. I have to remind myself that I'm not like uncomfortable on camera. It's so much easier to be on the other side, but everyone's been really generous in sort of opening themselves up.
Right. There's so much to talk about with the documentary. It really is like a touchstone piece of Meow Wolf's story. And I mean, so I don't even think I've told you this, but day to day I get people who email me who have seen the documentary and are like, this changed my life. Like the narrative and the story behind Meow Wolf and the way that you all told it, like gave me hope, and I'm doing my own DIY thing here, and here's what I want to show you, and it like seriously affects people in that way.
That's honestly so amazing and so cool.
Yeah, I'll forward them to you.
Yeah,
I don't know
no,
I'm just
love
like,
that.
yeah, of course, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because this thing, you know, goes out and, you know, films take on, if you're lucky, they grow legs and take on a life of their own, and
Totally.
I think that's what's happening here, which is amazing, you know, and it's really the story of this group that is so, it is so inspiring. It is good to be reminded though that there's sort of even just the story itself can have meaning.
Right, and the way that you told it and all of you, and the animations that were interspersed in it too, I thought did a really good job of conveying it as like part DIY, part like really well refined cult, part, you know, like super good aesthetics. And I really liked that you didn't shy away from a lot of people are like, Meow Wolf's a cult, you know, or it's like this weird collective of people that are doing blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Did you make that decision of kind of the direction of just like leaning into the identity?
Totally. That was something we actually, in other versions of the film, really leaned more heavily into that and sort of, there was a whole section where Benji's like, is Meow Wolf a cult? And it was like a, is that in the movie now? No, it's not.
I think.
It is?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know Vince makes a joke of like, they thought there was cult activity going on. Oh my God, that's crazy to me. Yeah, so yeah, the film had us. There were so many parts, and it was sort of this undulating, morphing thing throughout the whole process. But yeah, like that was always something where it was like, you know, if you're just sort of telling a story of they did this show and then they did this show and this is what went into it and this is who worked on this, like that isn't like, it was really hard to distinguish, like with the shows that we decided to, people talked about so many things in so many shows, but choosing where to kind of go deeper, that moment had to kind of represent something larger that was taking place, like with the group itself. But yeah, wanting to be playful and like having animations and having all of these different styles of footage was always something that was really going to be like, to us, the only way you could do this, because all of the footage that we had, we're telling a story that's happened, you know, with very spotty documentation, and you know, in any kind of a retelling or memory, you know, whatever actually happened is kind of like, it's like a patchwork of all of these people's memories, and so yeah, there's so much like that that was really fun to be able to play with, going deep into these rabbit holes, which we eventually cut just because it made the film like 2 hours long. But yeah, it needing to feel like sort of the Meow Wolf experience in a way that we don't get to experience now as much.
I think that maze quality really comes out with what we're doing, but also how everyone has such a distinct character, personality, that I think you all highlighted by just giving like succinct moments of them, And I'm wondering if you, like, the characterization of them, did you like how that came out? Does it feel like true to them in terms of just like watching it now and seeing the trajectory and everything?
That was like the most important thing to me. It was like, how do we, really represent what it feel like, what these people, it's like, how do you, I want the audience to like these people, because they're all really dynamic, and to understand what's sort of so amazing about how this came to be is to sort of see how they're all similar and different, and and that's to me, more interesting in a lot of ways than, what actually happened. I mean, that's not true. I take that back. But yeah, it being sort of character driven was, thank you. I feel like would hate interviewing myself.
No.
Pick a sentence.
I just want to say that I have been working here for a year and a half or so, and actually watching the documentary gave me insight to all of these people's characters that I hadn't known before or picked up on really from working here for a year and a half. Like, I left the film just being more obsessed with Emily and Benji than ever.
Amazing.
I was like, they're my favorite alien couple of all time,
Mine too. Their story is so yeah.
Everyone had their moment and their snippet of just some, I don't know, just a slice of their life that was really cool to add into the film. It wasn't just about this thing that subsumed them, and so I just appreciated that. And I was like, Sean is the martyr here.
I know.
Vince is like the go-getter, like the money guy.
I know. No, it is like it's interesting to, as a documentarian from that perspective, to really look so hard at these people and really try to understand them, and their, motivations and what's changed in them and all of these things. So that's, before was observation a lot of, and just sort of the new, the conversation that happens in this chasm. But it being this experience of needing to try to see the whole thing because it is so disparate, and looking and seeing someone and being sort of on the other side of not necessarily being seen back in any way. It's a really interesting experience. And then to be actually a part of this thing sort of emotionally is sort of what I think that helped in bringing these characters out, was sort of this they're really open with a lot of these things, but just sort of fleshing them out. I can't figure out how to finish a thought.
No, that was great. I'm just gonna be I'm just gonna cut you off.
Yeah, I'm like, they can't edit this as live.
What was I gonna say about so my favorite scene is definitely the one I hadn't seen before, but just the content of Emily and Benji and the whale song Deodorant, and just seeing those early Omega Mart Day things that I had read about a little bit. What was your favorite, piece or capture or thing that you added that you're like, that is the gem
of the film, the section? Well, I just want to say Alessandra Calsa, our editor, I sat with her every day for months for 12 hours a day. And she's just brilliant, and sort of patching those things together. She really, also is fell in love with, Benji and Emily and sort of their work and aesthetic, and being playful in the edit in that way. I think for me, each section, the whole thing was really tough, because each piece needed to feed the larger story but stand alone in a way that it could be interesting if you plopped in at any moment. And I think for me, a piece that came together earlier, just came together in a way that was really satisfying, is the chaos sort of versus the order section of the film that comes out of, they've just done, it doesn't matter where it comes, but it's about the group, it uses this older footage of this project they had done, and sort of, they're very aware of the chaos versus order dynamic, but this is the first time that, the idea of order starts to get introduced. So leading up to that, there's this song, by Death Hymn Number 9 by Swamp Dollars, where it's just like screaming, and I've always loved that song, and just like it just feels good to me. And then really I feel like the sections that really feel really good to me are the ones that we like got to use like amazing tracks that really kind of elevated the film, that feeling, I think, of like being there. So it's not that Chaos versus Order isn't just my favorite section, though. I also have always loved I Thought the Future Would Be Cooler, that track, and when Vince leaves, Alone Alas by Lars Finberg. Those are some really special moments. But yeah, crafting each little section was such a labor of love, and just continuing to go back and be like, this is close, but it's not, like,
Totally. And are you formally trained? Like, is this, what kind of films or documentary were you doing before you came to Meow Wolf?
So yeah, I started out doing, like years ago, like during college, doing radio documentary, audio documentary, and thought that I kind of wanted to go in that direction. I lived in Kentucky, like producing radio for a summer in like Appalachia, which was amazing. But that sort of like sparked my interest in film, and I always loved film, and so I did this program at the Center for Documentary Studies at Duke, and it was just sort of it's sort of, you make it what you want to, and so I kind of got in with that community and loved like making films, and was really, had been doing it. I was 25 when I got here, so I'd just been at the time like freelancing, working on other people's films, and moved out here to work on a film, and then started freelancing again and shooting, and then this has been, an incredible opportunity to direct my first feature and get to work with, Jillian and Alessandra. But yeah, I've been sort of obsessed with documentary storytelling since, I was 20.
What are some other like documentaries that you're obsessed with that you really love?
Oh,
yeah, go on.
That's a great question. Okay, so the first documentary I saw that I was like, I want to make movies, like I want to make films and not radio, is when I was in Kentucky, Whitesburg, Kentucky, doing radio, and like it's very rural, like coal country, but there's this like arts community there that does like documentary, whatever. So I saw Harlan County, USA.
Okay.
I don't know if you know it. It's about, I'm gonna fuck this up for people who are listening who know. In Harlan County, it's about, the mines, there was like the union and the strike, but it's these women, these female filmmakers. Is it Barbara? Shit. Anyway, either way, just Google it for me. But they go into the mines, and like it follows this. It's amazing, and that was like 70s, and then sort of other docs, Steve James, Stevie. But those are older ones. Sort of more presently, let me think about it.
Totally.
I mean, I'm thinking of my friends and
documentary, expert. I'm like Planet Earth. Anything about serial killers,
Oh, I watched that too.
Wild Wild West. Did you watch that one? It's about the cult.
Wild Wild Country, yes.
Oh, damn it.
No, I love Wild Wild West is the one we should be making.
That's about our cult.
Yeah,
that's like
exactly.
Actually the second version of the Meow Wolf documentary.
It is the Wild West out here.
Okay, so besides like documentary stuff, what other like art related things are you into right now? Do you have time to be into anything?
Yes, I want to do fiction stuff. I want to be writing and moving into fiction, and
like writing film scripts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
maybe like George R. R. Martin is listening.
George,
right now.
Remember me?
What would your like elevator pitch to him be? Right?
Oh my God.
You like have 1 minute for your like amazing film that you want to do.
It's top secret.
you already have it? You already know what it is?
I have a few ideas, yeah.
Okay. So you don't want to share any pitches?
No.
No.
No. If I would have come prepared. No, I have some good ideas I'll tell you about after.
We can talk after.
Yeah. Well, not that I wouldn't tell you guys. They're just not fully formed enough. Where's the camera to look to? Just that they're not. They're not good enough for you yet. You'll hear about them.
Or you're not good enough for them.
No. What about you, Han? What's your elevator pitch?
Oh, for like a documentary? I don't really have one for a documentary.
Any kind of art project.
Oh gosh, so I've been really wanting to do, I just learned that like glitter is about to be outlawed, you know, because it's like a huge environmental hazard, which totally makes sense, you know, like the world is ending, so we might as well take glitter away.
That doesn't,
but it's just so tiny that it gets like stuck in little fish, and it's like really hard to recycle. You can't really do anything with it. But I really wanted to do a like, you know, full-on immersive show that was like bedazzled and glitter themed, of just like a last goodbye. You know, where you could like go in and play, and you would just, there's this like really incredible drag queen theories about like the transferability of homosexuality and how you could go into these bars, and part of like this drag queen's way of being was that like they'll touch you and there'll be glitter on you that follows you home, you know?
Yeah.
And like that kind of concept I just am obsessed with. So if I could get like 500 pounds of glitter and just go at it.
Well, let George R. Martin, we got the pitch. All we need is 500, that can't be that much.
I know, this
How
is
much
like,
is 500
I want to call it
glitter?
the last hurrah or something like that.
Yeah. But you're like something with glitter and like sparkle.
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
you know?
totally.
I love that. Can there be a tub of glitter?
Yeah, maybe.
Before
Or
you
just
can
like,
get into
you know, I'm
it?
really actually inspired by artists who work really beautifully with bedazzling things. Like there's this incredible artist right now, Ebony Patterson, who does gorgeous sequined work, and it's just this ornate, beautiful, textured world that she creates, and it's with found materials, and it's with shiny things, and also like portraiture that she does, but everything is so incredibly shiny that you're like drawn in and maybe like scared at the same time.
Yeah.
That kind of work really fascinates me, which makes sense why I'm here, but.
Yeah. Are you getting
It's
to make
wonderful.
art? What is so you're an artist. On the screen it said liaison, but you're always traveling all over the place and meeting people. Your job seems really exciting. What are you doing?
I'm not gonna let you turn the table on me here, but we could do this another time where we like role reversal.
I know I have
thing.
to. Okay, you're right. Fine.
Okay, talk about other things that you are maybe obsessed with, like singular pieces of art or things that you're excited about. You said you were working on some like nonfiction pieces for Meow Wolf. Can you talk about any of those?
I'm working on. I got to interview my like favorite musician of all time, Nico Case, who I've been in love with since I can remember. But so I got to do this interview with her that I've like wanted. I don't know. I want to do something really special with it, and I haven't quite figured out what it is yet. But yeah, maybe playing with animation. I love her music videos, and just we had this great interview, and she was talking about what she loves about Meow Wolf, which probably won't go into the piece, but just being like loving that sort of handmade DIY quality of like what we can do ourselves, and that sort of analog technology in a way, and so. I've also been thinking a lot about like, you know, like these like subgenres of futurism, and like doing research sort of into, you know, all of these like, you know, indigenous Afro, Sino-futurism, Gulf futurism, and what some of these artists are doing, and it's really, awesome. Really like I just want to know more. I want to go just, like see this work, see these exhibits, but you know. Just that's sort of, I don't know yet, you know, what me white lady will, you know, if there's anything of.
I think it's really cool work to be bringing into Meow Wolf too, you know, and it literally is like the future, and it's like so fucking good, you know. Are you familiar with Virgil Ortiz? He's that local guy. Yeah, that's probably one of the people that you've been looking at.
Yeah,
we just talked to him the other day, and I'm just like so impressed by the characters that he's been developing, and just how like
Chinupa Hans Guller's work. Yeah, he's like amazing and is doing some like with artifact, like with tools and indigenous tools, and you know, it's so exciting to me. I just like want to support that work, and Janelle Langford, who now works for us. Yeah, I would love to, you know, she's doing sort of Afrofuturist work, and that's really exciting. And Meow Wolf had Tyler and Hakeem come out, Tyler Beckwith and Hakeem. I can't remember their last names, and live is so crazy.
You're like the
they came out, she wrote something that would fit into the narrative for the House of Eternal Return. And she had done sort of, been a playwright, Afrofuturist, like sci-fi. And so it was so cool to see what they're working on and what they shot and what's in there now and how that's gonna play into more of these storylines and yeah, that's really exciting to me right now.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, in terms of the reception of the film, how has that been for you? I mean, this is like a first-time feature film. Is it wild out there?
So crazy. It's so crazy. It's been so crazy.
Yeah.
Because it was just like making the film was very unglamorous, you know, like it was really hard. It was a lot of work, a lot of, you know, pressure to do justice to this thing, and an amazing time, amazing year, but it was really a lot of just like 3 people sitting in a room and during like the edit process. And then when it has come out, it's been like, I don't know, a new experience of like something that you made, that you sort of poured yourself into and were so devoted to, being something that like other people can experience and share and be, you know, have these great reactions to and be inspired by. It's an amazing feeling, you know, as an artist to feel like your work has been important, at least in some small way. And getting to meet, like, be sort of in the filmmaking community, going to festivals and like meeting all of these other artists and things has been really, you know, it just sort of affirms that thing of like, I don't know, like I'm like a filmmaker now. It's like, you know, kind of the part after the dream. I mean, it's still, obviously I have a lot to work to go. But it's been crazy. Yeah, like I said, I don't even know who's seen it or where it's playing when it came out in theaters, like nationwide. That was just sort of like incomprehensible in a way, because you know we're here and
it's your first feature film. That's amazing.
Totally, I feel so incredibly grateful to have just had the opportunity to like that thing of like, I know I can do this. I know I'm ready for it. I just like, it's so rare to get such a spectacular opportunity. But it was, you know, I wanted it. So I worked my ass off, and I feel really proud of it. Yeah. Which is a cool thing to be able to say. Yeah. You know, it was scary, but I feel really lucky. And now it's like,
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And what are your like? You said you're more comfortable interviewing. What are your like interview tips for folks who may be curious about doing their own interview-based film?
Well, if you are off camera, I think a big one that's really hard that I even still struggle with is just you have to communicate back with your face and non-verbally, because then you know you can't use that audio when you're trying to cut something together. So
not responding, not interrupting the person to say yeah. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. Which is hard for me. And you can do that you keep conversation going and keep someone talking, but it's really about letting the other person talk and just being really engaged in an encouraging way, and what you can sort of communicate to make the person feel like someone's really listening. And then it's amazing, that I think is sort of a rare experience. And so people will talk, they will continue to give you something even when you don't even you get to a point where you don't even have to ask, you hold the silence a little bit longer and see what else someone is in someone's mind.
That advice is hard for me because I have resting bitch face, I think.
No,
so if I'm not,
that's
because I'm focused. I'm like,
that is not a bitch face. That is a very warm,
this is me
open.
Trying.
Well,
if I'm just in like a normal conversation, I'm like,
No, it's very like, what do they
but
call
I'm focused. I'm
Toddlers
like, here it is. Where I'm just like, I see my future as a 6-year-old and it's not bright. Yeah, but that's good advice. I remember that from doing like dabbling in audio stuff, that you just have to say nothing and go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's fun. No, it's fun. Interviewing is its own sort of like, you get into this space with someone and you kind of know what you could or couldn't get, sort of, in a way, and it's a journey with someone, because you're respecting that.
Right, and it's a lot of pressure, I know, because it's also, they want fidelity to what they see as their character, which may not be how you are able to portray it or even perceive it.
Or how maybe they perceive themselves as different than maybe they, not that that's been the case, but it does take a lot of trust in that, and I think we all take that very seriously, of sort of helping someone communicate what they are intending to say in a way that makes them sound, intelligent, hopefully. Yeah.
And I think probably a lot of people have this question. I had this question. The documentary ends on this kind of cliffhanger where we're a startup, clearly. And at the end of the day, people can see that we've made it and we're kind of going on to the next project and the next project. But you kind of wonder about the personalities, like, how are they doing? How are they faring with this massive success and weight? And that's kind of the question that people always ask me, is like, how is that original crew? Are you going to do a follow-up, another documentary about this next chapter or leg, you think?
It's really unknown. I mean, Joanne and I have recently, picking back up documentation after we finished the film, so much had happened in that year we were editing, and we'd picked up little bits here and there, and then, we came into this company, and to continue to document as a part of the company after some of these people have seen themselves on screen, and it's, I do feel like I feel confident in that we did portray them, in a way that feels pretty accurate, or so they say. I mean, I hope so, but that's such a rare experience for someone to know what that's like, to be interviewed and see themselves and their story up on a screen, and then to go back and start that process again has been interesting. And it's so big now, and there's so many people, and so we in the last few months, I've been traveling some, and so we've been traveling some and kind of trying to document sort of these larger play things that are going to be more interesting later. Okay. And so we're doing some interviews, again, sort of very briefly here and there with these key characters, because in some ways that's sort of the arc that we built to sort of set up the next telling of wherever this picks up. But that was a difficult thing in the doc, is having to, wanting to include all of these other voices and all of these other people that have contributed to this crazy thing. But at the end of the day, nobody wants we needed to invest, the audience needs characters to invest in, to follow through this story. And that couldn't be, even 15 people. It was already a lot to fit sort of seven main characters into this story. But it's hard, because I do feel like I want to portray that this very much is made possible by a lot of people, and not just those people. But I think for me, the story of it's the longer story that's kind of interesting to see how they are handling it, how they're changing, and sort of trying to shoot with intention, but it's so hard to see now what's going to be important later. But they've been letting us in to shoot more, but in some ways it's like, it's a dance. It's a dance we're doing. I feel like it's important to continue to document this in some form or ways, but it's also in some ways it's just a repeating this cycle of, build out, it's tense, they pull it off,
Yeah.
So, we're doing our due diligence there, but it's a very different experience than it was documenting this group the first time around.
Right, totally. Well, we've made it through the interview portion, and now we have a final lightning round.
We do have a game.
Is there some kind of sound effect that we can add? Yeah, thank you. Lightning round. So we have a 1 minute time period. Will one of you keep time for me, or should I keep time?
Oh, Chris has got it.
He's got my time. So we'll do a 1 minute, and then I'm just gonna say a thing, and you tell me your favorite thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
I'm excited.
Okay. All right, here we go. Book.
Kafka on the Shore.
Rugrat.
Oh, Tommy. No, Chucky. Chucky.
Documentary.
Meow Wolf origin story. Just kidding. That's not right.
How about cat?
Oh, Worm, my cat.
Name Worm. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Okay. Instrument.
Drums.
Spice Girl.
Baby. Sorry. Baby Spice.
Superhero.
Marvel. Captain
Marvel.
I haven't even seen it.
Restaurant in Santa Fe?
Oh, a Trisco's or Tune Up.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Child star.
Oh, child star Lizzie McGuire? That's the only one I could think of.
Oh, that's it. Good job. Also, you probably do like a quick plug, yeah? Meow Wolf is origin story documentary. Where can people find it?
This is crazy. It is now available on iTunes to rent or to buy.
Yeah, I sent it to my dad yesterday.
Yes, thank you.
He's gonna love it.
And if you buy it, you can enter a sweepstakes to come to Santa Fe, see the house, hang out with me and Joanne, and then more importantly, hang out with George R. R. Martin at his movie theater.
Oh yeah.
So that's, I feel like it's like just rented just to order into the sweepstakes for a free trip, right?
When does the sweepstakes end?
It ends.
It does have an end. Just do it now.
Just do it now. Right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's on airplanes.
Oh yeah, fly on a plane.
Watch it if you're on a plane.
Someone actually said that someone recognized Matt on a plane, and it horrified him. They just yelled his name out. They were just like, Matt, you're in this movie, and it was just a stranger he didn't know.
That sounds very uncomfortable. But Han told me yesterday that when you click on his name on iTunes, it links to a country music
stuff.
stuff.
So funny. On the iTunes documentary, on the Meow Wolf video, it's like artists in this film, and the only one is Matt King, the country musician. So look into that too.
Yes, it's an alter ego.
Yay!
Yay!
We're done. Bye,
Thanks,
y'all.
everybody.
Thanks. Roller coaster. I should have asked that one.
I have ascended beyond the lifted veil and can now easily recognize how minuscule our existence in Mendocino really was.
We were a contained little box of earthly ignorances, dreaming up superficial storylines of portals and positive mechanics, selling transformation like it was a product on an infomercial.
And yet simultaneously, what happened on that day, in that dining room, inside our family's home, has caused ripples to converge like tidal waves throughout a rapidly destabilizing multiverse. It is crystal clear to me now.
In this eternal moment,
The story has only begun, and we were merely the prelude.
We know now that beings busy themselves with concerns, regarding Earth with envious Columbia system and its affiliated present and the Mercury.
DIY culture kind of saved my life.
I feel like that invigorates the city.
It gives artists a chance to contribute to the community.
It is so important that we have artists and ideas and these think tanks where our community can really come together.
DIY spaces don't have a consistent revenue stream, and they usually don't have the bandwidth to get up to these codes.
In 2016, there was a fire at a DIY art space called Ghost Ship.
I remember seeing other venues starting to get shut down, so we did like a little town hall style meeting.
This is your community, keep it going.
Instead of telling us, you can't do this, it's not safe, help us make this safe.
Our goal is to give over $250,000 to DIY art spaces across the country, but we need your help to get there.
Meow Wolf is putting up the first $100,000 to help reach our $250,000 goal. Join our movement today by contributing at meowwolf.com/DIY.
The art world needs to get shaken up a little bit.
It's time for us to just be an agitator.
We don't know what we're doing, and we don't care.
We didn't want rules.
Not only is this crazy, but it's possible.
This is the new art.
It's incredible. Meow Wolf have done something truly unique.